Hi, Dave Jones here again with the second instalment of this harmonising of the major scale in order to create the chords that it generates. Hope you've got it all so far. Just to recap, in the C major scale, we harmonised the C major scale. We got the C major chord. D was a minor because of the interval between the root and the third. E was a minor. That was chord 3. F was chord 4. That was a major. G was a major, chord 5. A minor was chord 6, and the weird one that we spoke about, the diminished, was chord 7. That was the one that had the strange interval of the root, flat third, flat fifth. Like I say, all these are on the sheet, so it's probably a good idea to print them out. You'll sort of understand it more as you go along. Now, the same thing applies to the natural minor scale. You harmonise it in exactly the same way. You start on the A. You get the A, C, E, then you start on the B note, and you get the B, D, F, then you start on the C note, you get the C, E, G, and that harmonises the natural minor scale. But just as a quick thing here, as I've explained if you're following these videos in previous videos, C major is A natural minor's relative major, and A natural minor is C major's relative minor. So they've got the same notes in them, exactly. They sound slightly different because the step pattern of tones and semitones is different, but they've got the same notes in. And if you harmonise them, you end up with the same chords, just to save you going all the way over it, because I want to show you a quicker method rather than doing this all the time. So in A minor, you would end up with A minor would be your first chord, chord 1, because it's in A minor and A is the first note. B diminished would be second chord, because it's letter number 2 after A. C major would be your chord 3. D minor would be your chord 4. E minor would be your chord 5. F major would be chord 6, and G major would be chord 7 to take you back to A minor again. So, although that sounds quite complicated at the moment, the C major scale, because it's a relative minor of A natural minor, it generates the same notes, different step pattern, but it also generates the same chords. So, just as a quickie here, you don't have to do this every time. The chords in a major key, so we've looked at, if you're following these lessons, we've looked at C major, G major, D major and F major so far. The chords in a major key always run from chord 1, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Like I say, the diminished chord isn't used very much. So the 1 is major. This is in Roman numerals. Like I say, if you print off the PDF, you'll get this. The 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, and 7 is diminished. Yeah, so the chords in the major key always run in the same order. So if you the major keys that we've learned so far are C, G, D, and F, and you can learn any major key you want, but I'll be going into those in later lessons. So if we recap on the G major scale, we've got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. So without having to go through the rigmarole of working out which chords are which, I only did that to show you how they work. The chords are going to be, the 1 chord is major, 2, 3 a minor, 4, 5 a major, 6 is minor and 7 is a diminished chord. So applying that to the scale of G major, we've got G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F diminished, G major. And that applies to any major scale you do. It always runs in the same order. So as long as you know the other major scales, you should be able to, it's on the sheet, but you should be able to work out the chords of D major and F major just by remembering that the 1, the 4 and the 5 are major, 2, 3, 6 minor, 7 is diminished. You just play up the notes from the scale, convert them into chords, and it works all the time. And the same with the minor keys. The minor key always runs minor, diminished, major, minor, minor, major, major, up the Roman numeral scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, as I said, the A minor scale will generate the same chords as the C major scale because it's the relative minor. Similarly, the E natural minor scale, the relative minor of G major, will generate the same chords that I just said in G major. So the 1 would now be E minor, F sharp diminished, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major. Exactly the same chords, but the key sounds different because your ears relate to the minor chord. So what you can do if you know the major chords is the relative minor always starts on chord 6. So if you're looking at the sheet, chord 6 becomes, if you want to find out the minor without having to go through all that, becomes your new 1. And so in, say, D major, chord 6 is B minor, so that would be your 1, and then you would move through it with a diminished chord, and then a major, minor, minor, major, major. So, like I say, it's very difficult to take all this in at once, and especially if you're not following it with the sheet, it does really, really help. So I hope you found that useful, and that's how you harmonise the major scale and you get the chords in a key. And they would be the chords that you would use in songs. You've probably come across an awful lot of songs if you're learning songs, etc. Say you're playing a song and it starts with a G chord, not necessarily, but generally speaking, 90% of the time, more than that actually, it's in the key of G. You'll probably find that a lot of songs in the key of G that you've played have got lots of C chords and lots of D chords in them, because the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord, 1, 4, 5 sequences are, and we'll go into this with transposition later on, that's the most common chord sequence you'll come across. But if you go back to songs that you might have learnt and look at the chords in them and look at this sheet, you'll find that loads of chords, songs that you've probably, if you're a relative beginner guitarist and you're just getting into this sort of thing, or even if you're not and you're just getting into theory, you'll find that you've got lots of songs that you can play in G with loads of G, C, Ds and E minors, A minors and B minors in them. That's because they're in key, which most songs generally are most of the time. Shouldn't say that really, because there are different things, but I hope you find that useful, and I'll see you again for extending these chords, these triads, into 7s in key.